mentor-driven and expert-rated. That's what we say about our events. Now, these are over 3 days. If you extend the whole thing to 3 months and see to it that people get funded instead of paid to be part of it, then you have TechStars. Today we're sitting down with David Cohen, one of their co-founders. So welcome, David Cohen. You are a business angel and co-founder of the seed accelerator program, TechStars. You also founded 3 companies of your own, and it's quite a rap sheet you got.
It's been a fun little career so far.
So what did you start out with?
I got a computer science programming degree, and then I built 3 software companies in my career. I was the CTO of all of them, so the main technical person that founded the company. The first was Pinpoint Technologies, which was a public safety software company. So if you think about ambulances, dispatching them, and billing associated with that, and in-vehicle systems, GPS, all that. That company did quite well. Sold to a public company called Zoll, which still exists today. Then I did another company in the mobile social networking space called iContact, which did not work. I like to think of that as a graceful failure. We got out pretty quickly, just kind of before its time, and did another product in the music space having to do with RSS called Earfeeder that was acquired by a company in Silicon Valley. So, sort of one big success, one small success, and one failure. In the middle of that started angel investing, which led me to sort of what I'm doing today. TechStars started in 2007 in Boulder, Colorado. So I'm from Boulder. It's a town of 100,000 people near Denver, Colorado. So quite a small community, but very entrepreneurial. We created it. I had a few co-founders, including Brad Feld, who is a venture capitalist in Boulder. We created it really as a better way to angel invest, and also it really was an attempt to develop the entrepreneurial ecosystem around Boulder so that over time there'd be more interesting internet companies in the community. And 5 years later, it's pretty clear that that worked. But really, it was initially envisioned as a better way to angel invest combined with a way to improve the overall community of activity in Boulder. A 3-month program. It's incredibly selective. It's more selective than Harvard or other Ivy League schools here in the U.S. We take less than 2% of applicants. Generally, 600 to 700 companies will apply, and we'll take 10 companies. So extremely selective. We then surround those 10 companies with about 100 mentors who are amongst the best and brightest entrepreneurs and investors on the internet or in the internet space. And they get to work with them for 3 months. At the end of that period of time, the companies have evolved very rapidly. That's why it's called an accelerator. And they pitch their ideas in front of investors. Usually we'll have several hundred investors show up for that event. And they come an incredibly long way in 3 months. About 70% of them go on to raise venture capital or angel investment after the program. We've had 7 of the first 20 companies have been acquired that have been through the program, and including some notable exits to pretty big acquirers. And it's just been a fantastic thing around Boulder. And since then, we've actually expanded to 3 other cities, including New York, where I'm sitting today. Over the last 4 years, given some of the success we've had, we've been contacted by over 100 organizations that were really looking to replicate the model that TechStars was using, which is very much about mentorship, deep engaged mentorship from a wide variety of mentors, and very much about community, getting the whole community behind these 10 companies once a year is our model. And so this community and mentorship model was interesting to other communities because it is so replicable. It's something that sort of appears to be copyable, and in fact it is. And it's a great model because it's a triple win. It's a win for the community that attracts new entrepreneurs. It's a win for the mentors who really get to know each other and can find investments. It's certainly a win for the entrepreneurs because they get an extensive network very quickly and a lot of great coaching and feedback, as well as investment because we actually invest money into the companies. So, in taking all of these phone calls and talking to all of these other programs around the world that we're trying to get going, we sort of developed a very open source attitude and said, okay, how can we help? We tried to, be helpful by publishing our results so that people could understand the power of this program. We've been very open about the results of every company that's been through the program. We published our, seed financing documents and legal documents, so people could more easily do what we've done. The TechStars network, which we launched, several weeks ago now, is really just a formalization of that support and that open source nature. So there are now about 20 programs that are in this network. These programs are all completely independent. We don't own them or operate them, but they're based off of our model. And they're providing mentorship and community support for these startups. So the TechStars network is a best practice sharing network. It's online resources. It's really TechStars in a box that we packaged up and we gave to these programs so that they can learn from what we've learned. But over time, we hope to learn from whatever they learn as well, and to really have a global network of people trying to build better entrepreneurial ecosystems is the goal. So we're very excited about it. We actually partnered up with the White House here in the U.S., who they haven't provided any funding or anything like that, but they're really just promoting it as really good activity to provide additional mentorship to entrepreneurs, which is what it's all about. There are about 20 programs that we've announced. There are at least that many more that we're sort of in diligence with. There's a quality bar associated with getting into the TechStars network. It's not just for anybody. So we look at the funding, we look at the mentors that are involved, we look at the model. For example, you can't be charging entrepreneurs anything. You have to be funding them or giving money to them. You have to be leveraging your community and the best mentors and investors in the community. So our expectation is it will go to 40 or 50 programs globally. I think right now there are about 5 outside the U.S., but I believe Dublin, Copenhagen, Israel, and London, I believe Cambridge in the UK as well. So we expect more to be all over the place, but we go through a process with each of them to make sure that what they're providing is sort of for the benefit of entrepreneurs. One of my favorite moments in the history of TechStars is when Matt Mullenweg, who was or is the founder of WordPress and is one of our mentors, was visiting the first batch of companies ever in Boulder. And he said, every time you see a success, it looks like an overnight success, but it probably took 15 or 20 years to build. And that's the case in Boulder. I think, TechStars might have been, the straw that broke the camel's back and really made Boulder much more visible, but all the ingredients have been building for a long time. So about, 15 years ago, Brad Feld, who I mentioned earlier, moved to Boulder and is he's an amazing venture capitalist, great seed stage investor, and he's chosen to build his life and his partnerships in Boulder. Had been working on the entrepreneurial ecosystem there with many others who had been doing the same thing for a long period of time. I think TechStars was just at that sort of moment where people started to hear about, oh, there's something special happening in Boulder. And TechStars was the example of it at that moment in time. But, just like WordPress was not an overnight success, even though it seemed like it, Boulder wasn't either. We now think of Boulder as clearly, one of the top communities in the U.S. For internet activity and internet startups. But it didn't happen in a year or 2 years. It didn't happen because of any one thing. It happened because the leaders in the community, and I would hope to be viewed as one of them, but not certainly the only one. Others like Brad and many others took a very long view, a 20-year view of what it would take to make Boulder better, and decided that's where they were going to live, and we were going to work on it, and it was going to be better. And if it takes 20 years, that's fine. That's the kind of view you have to have a real impact on any entrepreneurial community. I love being around people that want to make their community better for entrepreneurs. Those are people I identify with, and I always love to hear from them. So if that's what you're doing, we're kindred spirit, and let's talk about it.
So it's pretty easy to see why we wanted to hook up with TechStars and David Cohen. They've got mentors from all over the place. It's like the all-stars of web and tech since 2007 till now. It's bloody awesome. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it. Have a good one.